3 in the morning. You're staring at the ceiling, building the perfect sentence to say to someone who is fast asleep and has not thought about you in 2 years. The one secret you handed them in the dark, the thing you'd told no one else, and they spent it like loose change the second it could buy them something. You watch their mouth say it stayed between the two of you. You watch the same mouth use it. You have forgiven liars, cheats, 100 people for 100 things. Not this one. This one woke you up tonight. It has stolen sleep you will never get back. Hours, weeks, whole years bled out rehearsing a fight that already ended, and it is still winning. Here's the part that should scare you. That is not weakness. That is a survival weapon hundreds of thousands of years old, and the safety is still off. To understand why you can't let go, you need 3 stories. 3 ancestors, 3 betrayals, 3 different choices. 1 robbed by a friend, 1 betrayed by her own blood, and 1 who did the unthinkable, who forgave. By the end of the 3rd story, you'll know exactly why that name still burns in your head tonight. So here's the question this whole video is built around. Why does your brain forgive 1,000 small things, then treat 1 act of betrayal like a permanent open tab? If you like the feeling of suddenly understanding why your own brain does the weird stuff it does, that's the whole point of this channel. Subscribe and stick around. One thing up front. This explains why the feeling exists. Not that acting on it is a good idea. Spoiler, it usually isn't. Now go back about 10,000 years to the first story. Picture a woman who wakes up one morning and discovers that someone she trusted has robbed her blind. And she has exactly 1 chance to decide what kind of life she gets to live next. Her name is Mara. Mara doesn't live in a city of millions. She lives in a band of maybe 150 people. That's it. That's her entire world. She knows every single face. She'll see every one of them tomorrow, and the day after, for the rest of her life. There's no blocking someone, no moving to a new town, no fresh start. Now here's the thing about Mara. She forgives plenty. The clumsy hunter who lost the day's catch, the kid who snapped her favorite spear, the friend who lashed out after a hard night, all forgiven, all forgotten by morning. Mara is not some grudge-holding monster. Most mistakes get a pass, because most mistakes aren't a threat. But this morning is different, because last night, while Mara slept, someone crept into her shelter and took her food. Not a stranger. Not a rival from another band. A man she knew. A man she had shared meals with. A man she had watched over on a hunt. Betrayal isn't a slip-up. It's a choice somebody made to take advantage of trusting you. And Mara's brain treats those 2 things in completely different ways. So she sits by the cold ashes of the fire and runs the math that will decide everything. Option 1. Let it go. Say nothing. Keep the peace. It sounds mature. It sounds like the bigger person. And it would get her killed. Because if Mara just shrugs this one off, the thief learns something dangerous. He learns Mara is safe to rob. And in a tiny world where everyone watches everyone, that lesson spreads fast. The man who robbed Mara will tell no one, but everyone already saw. They saw the empty bag. They saw her say nothing. And by next week, Mara is the person the whole band steals from. Her shelter becomes the open cupboard. Her catch becomes everyone's catch. Here, being easy to exploit isn't kind. It's a slow death sentence. So Mara stands up. And she chooses option 2. She walks to the center of the camp, in the full light of the morning fire, where every single member of the band can see. And she makes the thief pay, loudly, in front of everyone. Now pause. Here's the part that flips how you think about revenge forever. Mara's revenge was never really about the stolen berries. The berries are gone. Hurting the thief doesn't bring them back. So if revenge can't undo the damage, why bother? Why does the urge exist at all? Because revenge was never the point. The message was. And the message wasn't even for the thief. It was for everyone else sitting around that fire, watching. The threat was simple. Cross Mara, and she'll make you pay. Even if it costs her something to do it. That last part is the genius. The threat only works if she'll follow through when it hurts her too. A bluff is cheap. Everyone can bluff. What makes a threat real is the willingness to pay a price to keep it. Mara, bleeding a little, glaring across the fire, just became the most expensive person in that band to betray. And scientists actually put Mara's exact dilemma in a lab. What they found should not have happened. In a study in the journal Nature, in the year 2002, players in a money game could punish cheaters. But punishing cost the punisher real money too. Logically, nobody should pay to hurt a stranger they'll never see again. They did it anyway. They burned their own coins just to watch a cheater lose more. And here's the kicker. Once cheaters knew a punisher might be at the table, they stopped cheating. One person willing to pay the price kept everyone honest. Exactly like Mara. So that spiteful little urge to make a cheater pay, even at a cost to yourself. That's not pettiness. Researchers argue it's one of the invisible threads that let humans cooperate in groups at all. Mara didn't get angry because she was small. She got angry because anger, aimed correctly, was a billboard that kept her alive. And watch what happened to the thief afterward. He wasn't exiled. He wasn't killed. Something quieter. And in that world, almost worse. The next morning, the hunters slipped out at first light without waking him. At the meal that night, the best cuts went around the circle and skipped his hands. When he spoke, eyes slid past him like he wasn't there. He had become the man you keep one shelter away from. That is the deterrence working in slow motion. The whole band watched what trusting the wrong person cost, and they adjusted. The thief learned the same lesson everyone else learned that morning. In a world of 150 faces, your reputation is the only thing you truly own. And Mara had just shown the band exactly how much it costs to lose it. That's story one. Revenge as a public message. Now meet the ancestor whose betrayal came from somewhere far worse than a hungry friend. A stranger can hurt you, but a stranger can never truly betray you. To break something, you first have to be trusted with it. And the people who hold the most of your trust can do the most damage. This is the story of the wound that only family can give. Meet a man called Tev. Tev belongs to a different band than Mara, in a different valley, but the same brutal world. For most of human history, your survival was wired to your kin. Your family was not just the people you loved. Your family was your insurance, your army, your food in a bad winter, and your backup in a fight. An attack on one of them wasn't personal. It was an attack on all of them. So the whole family answered together. Shove one, and 6 relatives popped up behind him. Tev's closest ally in the world was his cousin. They grew up at the same fire. They hunted as one. When Tev was sick, his cousin fed him. There was no one Tev trusted more, which is exactly why what happened next was so devastating. Because his cousin made a deal with a rival band, and the price of that deal was Tev. Tev's hunting ground, his standing, his safety, quietly traded away to people who wanted him gone. Now ask yourself, why does that cut so much deeper than if a rival had simply attacked Tev openly? Because a stranger could never reach this far inside. Think about it for a second. You never trust an enemy, so there's nothing for them to break. They can be cruel, sure, but cruelty from an outsider is just weather. You expect it. You brace for it. The deepest wound was only ever available to someone Tev had already let inside the circle. His cousin didn't steal something Tev guarded. He walked through the one door that was never locked. And this is where the blood feud comes from. When the betrayal landed, Tev couldn't just absorb it. If he let it slide, his entire bloodline looked weak. And in that world, weak meant you were next. So Tev's family answered. And the cousin's family answered back. And it did not stop with them. Here's how a feud like that actually spread. It was never just 2 angry men. The first blow pulled in brothers, then in-laws, then anyone who owed Tev's family a favor. A raid for a raid. A wound for a wound. One bad season, the cousin's side ambushed 2 of Tev's hunters at a river crossing, and now there were widows on one side who would never let it rest. The next season, Tev's side took the cousin's best fishing spot and a child went hungry for it. Every act of payback felt like justice to the people throwing the spear and like fresh betrayal to the people catching it. And the human cost just kept compounding. Count what a feud like that actually burned. Hunters who should have been feeding children were instead watching the tree line for an ambush. 2 bands that could have traded, married, survived a hard winter together, now bled each other dry instead. Nobody won. Both sides just got smaller. Whole families locked in cycles of payback that could last generations. A grandfather's betrayal became a father's grudge, became a son's war, until no one alive could even remember who took the first thing from whom, only that the other side could never, ever be trusted. The children inherited an enemy they had never met, born already, owing a feud they did not choose. Loyalty to your group and rage at betrayal were 2 sides of the same coin. You couldn't have one without the other. The same wiring that made Tev ready to die for his cousin made him unable to forgive when his cousin turned. The deeper the love, the hotter the betrayal burns. That is not a malfunction. That is the price of being able to trust anyone at all. Now here's the part that proves this old wiring is still bolted into your skull. Scientists watched it happen inside a living brain. In the year 2004, researchers led by Dominique de Caervon ran a study published in the journal Science. They set up a trust game. You hand your partner some money, trusting them to send a fair share back. And sometimes, the partner betrays you, keeps it all. Then you get a choice. You can pay, out of your own pocket, to punish the partner who cheated you. And while people sat in the scanner deciding whether to punish the betrayer, one region lit up, a part of the brain called the Tuvdate-Dayton Dovcleus. That region is part of the brain's reward and anticipation circuitry. It's the system that helps you decide a goal is worth chasing, even when chasing it costs you. Read that slowly. Anticipating payback against someone who betrayed you lit up the same reward and anticipation system your brain uses to push you toward things it has decided are worth the cost. The stronger that anticipation glowed, the more people were willing to pay to punish. This is not about chemicals or comparing it to anything else. It's simpler and stranger than that. Your brain files getting even as a goal, a thing it anticipates and reaches for, the same way it reaches for safety, status, and food. Because in Tev's world, making a betrayer pay was safety, status, and food. It was the whole insurance policy. That's story 2. The betrayal from inside the circle, the wound only your own can give, and the brain that still treats getting even as a goal worth chasing. So far, every ancestor has paid the betrayer back. But there was a third path, and it might be the smartest one of all. Here's the twist nobody expects. The same ancient system that builds grudges has a second setting. And the ancestor who knew when to flip it survived just as well as Mara. Sometimes better. This is the story of the one who forgave. Her name is Sela. And the man who betrayed her was her partner. In a hard season, when food ran thin, he took more than his share and hid it. He chose himself over her in the exact moment she needed him most. By every rule of the first 2 stories, Sela should have made him pay. Loudly. In front of everyone. But Sela's brain did something the thief and the cousin never earned. It ran a different calculation. Because here is the truth the grudge system hides. Holding a grudge is expensive. It costs you a hunting partner. It costs you an ally in a fight. It costs you someone to share the cold nights with. The grudge is only worth it when the betrayer is still a threat. But what if the betrayer is more useful repaired than punished? So picture the actual moment Sela decides. She is standing over that hidden stash, and the old fire is already climbing up her throat. Every instinct says drag him to the center of camp and end him in front of everyone. But in the half second before she moves, her brain runs the cold arithmetic of survival. Winter is still coming. Who hunts the far ridge with her when the herds move? Who watches her back when the rival band tests the border? Who keeps her warm through the nights that kill the people sleeping alone? Punishing him answers none of that. It only leaves her one body lighter going into the worst months of the year. And in that half second, the math wins over the fire. So Sela watched. Her partner didn't make excuses. He shared the rest. He took the worst spot by the fire. He carried more than his weight for a season, trying to make it right. He was, in the oldest sense of the word, repentant. And Sela's brain quietly flipped the switch. This is the part people get wrong about ancient humans. They did not forgive everything. Mara didn't. Tev couldn't. But they did not hold every grudge forever either. They forgave the small stuff fast. And they could even forgive the big stuff, when the bond was worth more than the revenge, and when the betrayer proved the betrayal would not come again. Forgiveness was not weakness. Reconciliation was a tool. Every bit as evolved as the grudge. A band where nobody could ever repair a rift would tear itself apart in a single bad winter. The ones who could mend broke less often. And notice the one condition Sela's forgiveness ran on. It was earned. Not begged for, not demanded, not handed over to keep the peace. Her partner paid it back in actions, day after day, until the cost of the betrayal had been worked off in plain sight. That is the difference between forgiveness that protects you and surrender that gets you robbed again. And you don't only see this in humans. Researchers like primatologist Frans de Waal, who studied the closest living relatives of humans, observed something striking. After a fight, chimpanzees will often reconcile, grooming each other, reaching out, repairing the bond. Researchers argue this reconciliation is itself an ancient survival tool because in a social animal, a broken bond is dangerous and a repaired one is strength. So picture the full machine now. Your brain runs a cost-benefit calculation on every betrayal. Hold the grudge when the betrayer is still a threat. That's Mara. That's Tev. Forgive when the bond is worth more than the revenge. That's Sela. Revenge and forgiveness are not opposites. They are two settings of the same ancient system, and your ancestors survived by knowing which one to use. Which brings the whole thing crashing into the present. Into you. Tonight. Because here's the problem. That system was built for a band of roughly 150 people you'd see for the rest of your life. A world where the grudge had a job, and forgiveness had a job, and your brain could read the situation and pick the right one. Now look at the world you actually live in. You'll meet thousands of people. Most of them once, for 3 seconds, never again. The deterrence that kept Mara alive has nothing left to deter. The stranger online who insulted you. You'll never see them again. There's no firelight, no reputation to protect, no lesson to teach. But your ancient system doesn't know that. It logs the offense, files the grudge, and starts rehearsing the comeback for a person who is already gone and has completely forgotten you exist. And here is the cruelest mismatch of all. Sela's setting, the forgiveness switch, misfires too. The friend who actually changed, who actually earned it back, who carried more than their weight for years to make it right. Your grudge system still flags them like the betrayal happened yesterday. The one ancestor who knew how to repair a bond built you a switch you now forget you have on the exact people who deserve it most. The ex who moved on. The family member you no longer speak to. The coworker who took credit for your work and got the promotion. Your brain treats every one of them like Tev's cousin. A member of your band who turned, someone you'll have to face across the fire tomorrow. But you won't face them across any fire. There's no band left to protect. The grudge fires perfectly, and then has nowhere to go. So it just keeps you up at night, running a deterrence program against people who'll never even know it ran. That's the mismatch. A weapon built for a world with no exits, firing in a world that is nothing but exits. Be honest for a second. There's a name that just surfaced in your head, isn't there? Someone you're still quietly keeping a tab open on after all these stories. You don't have to name them, but drop one thing in the comments. How many years have you carried yours? Just the number. See how long this ancient software keeps a tab open. Every comment gets read. So go back to the very start. The one who smiled at you, looked you dead in the eye, and used the secret you trusted them with. The betrayal you opened this video still carrying. Now you know which story it lives in. Maybe it's Amara, a betrayer who's still a threat, and the grudge is doing its old job. Maybe it's a Tev, someone from inside your circle, which is exactly why it cuts so deep. Or maybe, just maybe, it's waiting to become a Sela, a bond worth more than the revenge if the other person ever truly earns it back. Here's the relief part. You are not broken. You are not petty. You are not stuck. You are running ancient software on modern hardware, and the software is doing exactly what it was built to do. It's just aiming at the wrong century. Knowing that doesn't make the feeling vanish, but it changes who's in charge. The next time that memory flares up at 3 in the morning, you can look at it and choose. Hold it if the threat is real. Or set it down if the only person it's hurting now is you. The same system that built Mara's billboard and Tev's feud also built Sela's second chance. All three live inside you. The choice of which one to run, that part is new. That part is yours. If this rewired one thing in your head, you'll like where this is going next. Because the same ancient brain that won't let you forgive betrayal is also the reason you can't stop checking your phone. And that one's even weirder than this. Subscribe, and you won't miss it. You're not crazy. You're just very, very old on the inside.